Hey everyone, how are you? What's happening? What's up? Tiffany Robinson here from Beyond RCM Revenue Cycle Management here in Nueva York. And I am so thrilled to be sitting down, being able to put out new content for the channel. Um, First and foremost, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who has been supporting our channel for the past year. I've been getting your comments and just all of the wonderful positive things that you guys have been putting in the comments on our various videos. I really appreciate it. I mean, I fight to make time to put out new information on this channel because I know that there are so many people in this industry or starting out in this industry that really utilize this channel to kind of as a compass to point them in the right direction. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of the love. And if this is your first time checking out Beyond RCM, we are a YouTube channel that is geared towards new and aspiring MBCs that's attempting to break their way into the industry. They're starting out, they want guidance on what organizations they should partner with for certification, guidance on how to break into the industry. And we also talk about evolving topics within the field of medical billing and coding and the more broader spectrum that we call revenue cycle management. So if you haven't done so already, please do not forget to hit the notification bell. I always mess that up. Don't forget to I always rehearse it in my mind and I mess it up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. There, I got it. So today I'm actually recording this on the 4th of July because I'm off today. So I'm giving you a little flower power situation, and it's the only free moment that I've had in quite some time. Recently, at the start of the year, I embarked on what can best be described professionally as a pivot in my career. And not like I am now like a yoga instructor or something. So when I say pivot, I didn't switch careers altogether, but I switched gears in my profession. And I've really been devoted to getting acclimated in this new role that I'm in. So it has taken time away from the YouTube channel, which is a passion project for me. I will get into my pivot, I'm sure, at some point in a future video, but just know that everyone has been on my mind, and every week I try to figure out when will I have time to put out new content. And since today was, an extra day off after the weekend, I said, you know what, I'm gonna record something today. Now you're not gonna get it on the 4th of July, but just know that instead of being at the barbecue, at the cookout right now, I'm recording before I go to the barbecue or the cookout. So today we're going to do things a little bit differently. I'm just going to take a sip of my coffee for energy. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We've been getting some really cool questions on different videos. And, the video that has gotten the most traction is actually the first video from our summer series last year, Medical Billing and Coding for Newbies Certification Matters. So if you haven't checked out that video almost has 10,000 views. That's insane to me. But if you haven't checked out Certification Matters, I encourage you to check it out, especially if you are new to the medical billing and coding world and you really kind of want to figure out what direction you want to go in. So today's video, we're going to switch it up a little bit. We have some questions and that I thought were really great questions. And typically when we get questions, I will either add a response in the comments or I'll do a little short video where I try to answer the question as quickly as possible in less than 60 seconds. But I wanted to do these 3 questions and give it the proper justice and not try to do a quick short to answer it. So today I picked 3 questions from 3 different videos. I believe the first 2 questions are from the Certification Matters video that we put out. And then the last question is from the video that I put out when I obtained my CDEO certification. So the first question comes from at Jennifer Ricks 2194. And Jennifer wrote, I just received my certificate from NHA this past month. I haven't found work, or when I applied, I would get rejected. Do you have any tips, or do you suggest that I go another route? This is such a great multi-layered question. So Jennifer, first and foremost, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Congratulations on your certification from NHA, because I remember when I became certified through NHA back in 1998, I crammed for that test. It was just like any other exam that you had to study and prepare for. So I know that you worked hard for it. So I want to give you your shout out. What I will say is healthcare has changed so much since I started 25 years ago. And with the NHA, I don't want to discourage you from pursuing employment with your NHA certification. You may just have to go in certain directions that you probably thought you wouldn't have to. So for example, what do I mean? If you're looking for a job, and I don't know what city or state that you're currently looking for employment in, but if, for example, you're looking for employment through a hospital organization or an insurance company or a larger entity, NHA is not going to be accepted. I mean, there's just no way around that. When you look at those job postings, they are very specific that they want to see you have a CPC or they want to see that you have a CCSP. Very rarely will you be considered if you don't even have the certification from one of the entities that they prefer. And I will say that for outpatient coding, it's usually the AAPC, CPC. And for inpatient, ironically, it's the AHIMA CCS. So go figure. But unless you have your certification from one of those entities, it will be very difficult for you to break into the industry through one of those organizations, specifically in medical billing and coding. How I got my start with my NHA certification, I actually, because I live in New York, and at the time I lived in New York City, private practice was a big thing. We have a lot of private practice. Every state, even every borough, because when I worked in Brooklyn, I found that the healthcare landscape was a lot different than when I worked in the Bronx for 4 years of my career. But every state kind of has their own, the way they do things, let's put it that way. And what I will say is in New York City, there was a lot of private practice. There's a lot of hospitals, there's a lot of networks, like physician networks, but there were a lot of private practices. So I was not able to get my first job through the hospital as a medical biller encoder. I did get into the hospital eventually, but not under the title of medical biller encoder. But I was actually able to get my first job in private practice. Why? Because in private practice, they are not as stringent. They just want to know, do you understand medical billing and coding? If I hire you, will you be able to come in here and do the job? Or, am I going to have to do a lot of hand holding? And lucky for me, I was very eager to break into the industry. I was a quick learner. So once I was given my first opportunity, I just kind of took the ball and ran with it. And I got into private practice. And then eventually I got into the hospital, but I got into the hospital under a title called clerical associate. So the thing was, although when I got on the job, I was pretty much doing billing. I wasn't necessarily doing coding. A lot of the work was already coded for us. But I was doing billing, but they weren't paying me what they actually paid billers because of the title that they brought me in under. So that's just like that's like a little tricky situation. That's a whole video in and of itself. But eventually I did get into the hospital. I got in under a different title. And if I wanted to apply for like a different position in the hospital, they wanted to see the CCSP, the CCS, they wanted to see that certification. So my advice to you is, number one, don't give up, okay? Quitters never win and winners never quit. It just is what it is. Don't give up, I would probably redirect and kind of get a better understanding of what the healthcare landscape looks like in your area. And if there's private practices or private organizations, physician groups that you can apply to, I would try there with the NHA certification. I do think that it would be in your benefit to consider in the future, sooner rather than later, obtaining your certification through another entity. I don't recommend that you suspend looking and kind of give up while you figure out if I'm going to go and get certified through another organization. Still use the certification that you have to look for employment, but go more of the private practice route. And I would recommend that you definitely consider doing your CPC or your CCSP, depending on if you're an inpatient and outpatient coder, from one of the organizations that is more recognized by hospitals and larger healthcare entities. So I hope that answers your question. See, I couldn't do that in a 1-minute short. I had to give that the proper attention that it deserved. Get another sip of coffee before we go to this next question. Okay, so this is not really a question, but this was more of a comment, and I just wanted to shout at LaShonda Gordon 4594 out. I got your post your comment where you said, I've been in the healthcare industry for 17 years now, and I'm looking into obtaining my billing and coding certification so I can eventually start my own business. Well, congratulations to you. I just want to wish you the best of luck on your journey into entrepreneurship. Definitely, it is possible. It's more than possible. I started my own company after 10 years of working in the hospital and private practice system. So it's definitely possible. I will tell you that relationships are very important when you're going into the area of entrepreneurship. One thing that helped me out tremendously when I decided to start my own business was I had worked with many physicians over the years where I would just help them out on little projects. Like they would have a problem or a situation with a payer, and I'd be like, I would just take work on the side and be like, let me see if I can help you out with that and help them resolve issues that they were, struggling to resolve. Their current billers weren't able to resolve. And once they worked with me one-on-one, we were able to get a resolution. And by doing a lot of those type of projects, and sometimes in full transparency, I volunteered for free. I gave away free services, but a lot of those free services ended up paying off, 100-fold once I opened my own business, because a lot of those same physicians who remembered me when I helped them out when I was still working at the hospital or working in private practice, they then worked with me, or they referred other physicians and healthcare providers to work for me. So, or work with me, sorry, not for me. So relationships are very important. Don't be afraid to do some pro bono work. Do it with a spirit of excellence, because if you approach it with excellence, they will remember you. And just keep putting one foot in front of the other. In terms of obtaining your certification, definitely check out my previous videos where I delve into what certifying entities are best recognized. As an entrepreneur, I don't think the landscape is a little bit different as an entrepreneur. I will tell you that, in the over decade that I was working as an entrepreneur and a consultant, I never had a client not work with me or ask me, who's your certification through? If I'm being honest. Now, that's different if you want to work with a larger organization or, a larger entity or a hospital system. The most important thing is that you know what you're doing, you are compliant, and you're getting results. So I don't think as an entrepreneur you have as much pressure in terms of which organization you get certified through. But from a skill set perspective, you want to go with an organization that's going to give you the most nuggets, that's going to give you the most information and help you be the best medical biller and coder, the best business owner, and provide the best service to your ability. So keep that in mind. And I wouldn't recommend NHA for that. I'm sorry. Okay. But best of luck to you, LaShonda, on your journey. And the last question is actually pertaining to our video the video I put out, I think back in February or March, certified. And I talked about my journey in obtaining my CDEO certification through AAPC. And this message comes from at Elizabeth Aringer. I hope I'm saying it right. 9381. If I said your last name wrong, I'm sorry. So your question, Elizabeth, or your comment was, congrats. I just sat for the first attempt for the CDEO and failed. What do you mean by looking at this like an auditor? Will you give any examples? I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that was like a light bulb moment for me when one of the chapter secretaries or chapter members kind of gave me that advice after I have failed multiple times. So the first thing I want to tell you is don't be discouraged because you failed. I failed that exam as well. It's not an easy exam. In terms of giving examples, I can't give literal examples from the test because I am a chapter officer and I can get in trouble for that. And I don't want no smoke from the AAPC. So what I can tell you is this. When I went in to sit the exam, and I bought the package. I did the study guide that they gave. I found that when I took the exam, that there were questions that were very similar to what I had looked at in not the study guide, the practice exam. Because when you buy the bulk package, they give you like 3 different practice exams that you can take in addition to the workbook. And it's all meant to get you prepared for the exam. So I remember doing a lot of the practice exams. And then when you sit the test, the questions look very similar to the practice exams. Do not assume that because the verbiage might be similar, that it's the same question. The question may have certain elements of what you took on the practice exam, but they're testing you as an auditor to see how you're going to read this question. It may be similar to what you've encountered before, but there's something in here that's different. And if you don't pay attention to what's different, you're going to get the question wrong. Same thing with certain questions that pertain to billing. There were certain things that we learn as medical billers, certain rules, certain do's, certain don'ts. And when the question is presented to you on the face of it, it looks like, oh no, we don't do that in billing. This is what we do. But again, you have to look at the way that they're phrasing these questions, because they're phrasing these questions to see if, as an auditor, a clinical documentation expert, you're going to notice the variances in how this question is phrased, catch those variances, and answer the question correctly. So when I say think like an auditor, it's more like don't approach the question from, oh, we did this. I've been doing this in billing for 10 years. Approach this as an auditor, as this looks like a billing question that I should answer as a biller with 10 years of experience. But what is different in this question? What words are slightly different that would lead to a different outcome, a different answer to this question? It's a very, very tricky test. But I will tell you that when I took my last attempt and passed, because of the advice that Barbara Stevens, shout out, gave me when I just came to her utterly defeated, because the last time I failed by 2 points. When she gave me that advice and I began looking at it from that perspective, when I sat the exam the last time when your girl passed, I was actually able to see how they were tripping me up. I was able to look at the questions and be like, oh my goodness, thinking that it was this answer. But then when I took a step back, I was like, oh, you guys are trying to trick me. And I was able to answer the question correctly. So I hope that that kind of gives you a little bit of insight. I want to encourage you not to give up. Every time I took that exam, I got stronger and stronger. And, I am able to look at documentation now and look at it for the things that stand out that could get my clients, a low scoring on a chart review. So it was well worth the journey. As Taylor Swift said, hell was the journey, but it brought me heaven. I mean, I don't know if heaven is a stretch, but it was a rough journey. But I'm so glad that I went through it, because I am a stronger CDEO because of it. So don't give up, dust yourself off, get back in there. You will pass. And that's it. This video is longer than I was planning on making it, but I just really wanted to delve into some of these really cool questions and comments that have been coming in. So thank you so much for checking out our video today. Again, if you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, and ding that notification bell. I am Tiffany Robinson from Beyond RCM. I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me on this Independence Day, whatever day you'll be watching it. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. And I will see y'all soon. Bye.